Today is the day that my brother is going to show me around the Jewish quarters in Kraków. Kuba, where are we?
Oh, hi Ella. Hi, we are in Skałka. Skałka means the rock. So this Skałka is quite an important place for Kraków, for Poland. Right in front of us we have the Basilica of St Michael Archangel and St Stanisław. So you should know that St Stanisław is the main patron of Poland. And this church was presumably founded in the place where St Stanisław was killed by the Polish king. So it's a quite important story for Polish history because the king that was called Bolesław the Generous one day decided to kill the Bishop of Kraków for criticizing him. This was 1079, so almost 1000 years ago. And once this happened, later on the subjects of King Bolesław the Generous just told him to go away, to go out of Poland.
Kicked him out.
Kicked him out. They didn't want this king that committed such a sacrilege.
So was there a mutiny? Because how could they kick out their own king?
A lot of noblemen got together and just kicked him out and made his brother the Prince of Poland, because the king had to go, and then the prince started to be the ruler of Poland. And almost 200 years later, the Bishop of Kraków that died as a martyr was beatified, was raised to the altars and became the main patron of Poland. So behind us the fountain that you'll probably see in another
Clip.
take, in another clip. This is holy water, this is healing water that sprang out of the rock over here when the I don't know, body or part of the body of St Stanisław just fell down here after his death.
It tastes weird, but apparently it's healthy, so.
This place is quite relevant when it comes to the coronation ritual in Poland, because the first king that was crowned in Kraków, and then you also should know that you actually don't know this yet, but we are in Kazimierz now. So Kazimierz was a city next to Kraków, but now it's part of Kraków. It was established by King Kazimierz the Great. So this is the last king from the Piast dynasty. This is the first Polish dynasty, and his father, Władysław the Elbow, was the first king that was crowned in Kraków. So previously the royal capital of Poland was Gniezno. Not getting into details, Władysław the Elbow, during the first anniversary of his coronation, decided to make a how to call this, expiatory pilgrimage to this place to beg God to forgive for the sins of his
Ancestors.
well, yeah, you could say that, of his ancestors, of the king Bolesław the Generous, that was later called Bolesław the Bold. So this is also due to what he did. So in the Polish coronation ritual, from that day on, since Władysław the Elbow did this expiatory pilgrimage to Skałka, first there was such a pilgrimage by the person that was to be crowned. Later he was actually crowned, and later he accepted tribute for all the merchants in Kraków.
So how come this place, which is very important for Poles, for Catholics, is like we are in the Jewish quarters? How come it became the Jewish quarters?
Actually, we're not in the Jewish quarter, so it's
Okay.
a good question. Kazimierz, but Ella, you are right. Today, Kazimierz nowadays is mostly associated with the Jewish district in Kazimierz. However, historically, the Jewish district was about 1/4 of the whole city of Kazimierz. So in the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, most of Kazimierz was inhabited by Jews, but historically this was the Christian part of town. So this is maybe it explains this a little bit. And maybe to add one more thing, because what is very important here is that this place belongs to Paulins. So Paulins is an order. They come from the first hermit Paul. So this is not Paul, not the one, not the Paul Apostle, but it's a different Paul. Yeah, and this is the same order that's in Częstochowa. So also
Bright Mountain.
very important for Poles. Yeah.
All right. So just one more question, not kind of unrelated, but very it interests me. Why is Władysław the Elbow called the Elbow?
That's a very good question. Some people call him the Elbow High, so that would explain it. Maybe he was pretty short. Who knows? Father of King Kazimierz the Great. But yeah, it's really not. No, there's no conclusive theory as of why he's called the Elbow or the Elbow High. Maybe he was just short.
These are the Paulins that my brother talked about. They just passed. There's quite a few of them here. So what's in there?
Hi. I just want to tell you about something that I think will be interesting to Poles, but maybe also somebody from outside of Poland. Below the Basilica of St Michael Archangel and St Stanisław, we have what we call Krypta Zasłużonych, which means the crypt of the merited people. So there is quite a lot of known names in Poland who are buried there, like Wyspiański or Miłosz or Siemiracki. So it's a pretty Jan Długos, but this is something else. So if you know these names, then you might get excited. Wow, I want to go to this place. Yeah, and now it's full, so no more merited people can be buried here. So something similar started in the Church of St. Peter and Paul.
Who is this?
Yes, this is Pope John Paul II, and this statue was built here to commemorate the meeting of John Paul II with the Academia of Kraków. I don't know if you see something interesting here, something strange.
It looks like a boat, maybe?
Maybe, but the Pope is not sitting on his chair. Just during the meeting, he sat down next to his chair, just to maybe be on the wanting to, as a symbol, I'm here as one of you in this sense.
St Stanisław is actually the patron of Poland, isn't he?
St Stanisław is one of two main saint patrons of Poland.
Who is the other one?
Saint Adalbert, in Polish Wojciech. So Stanisław is buried in the Wawel Cathedral in Kraków, and Adalbert was buried in Gniezno, but the Czechs in the 11th century stole his body because, well, long story short, he was the Bishop of Prague, and then they thought this was the best place to bury him, but apparently his head was left behind, so his head is still buried in Gniezno.
So...
So he has two burials. Potem zostało tam to zwierzątko, gromadziły się tam różne jakieś takie pyłki, zostało zupełnie zakryte przez ten murzek i tak dalej. I potem to, co tam był ten mur, stał się skałą. I setki lat później
So where are we?
we are in the church of St Catherine of Alexandria. This is the biggest church in Kraków. It's the house of Augustines, the order of Augustines. Maybe the important thing about this place is when Kazimierz the Great
wanted to establish the Jagiellonian University. He wanted Augustines, which was considered as one of the most educated orders, to come to Kraków. But before a king, a prince, whoever would invite an order, they would have to build a place for them. So this was the investment of King Kazimierz the Great. So Augustines would come to Kraków. The sad thing is, during the Second World War, during the German occupation in Kraków, most of the Augustines were taken to concentration camps and killed. So there's only just a few Augustines left here, maybe 2 or 3. About this place, just generally, during the 19th century, it was in a total ruin, and it was supposed to be dismantled, taken down, but taking down such a place takes a lot of money. So for some time there was no money to do it. It was enough time for a group of people get together and try to save this place. So they constituted like a body to save the church of St Catherine, and they managed. So this place was not taken down. It was repaired. Now it again serves as a church. The fun fact is the ceiling is not an actual, I don't know, stone, brick ceiling. This is wood. This is wood because at the end of the 18th century there was an earthquake. The construction of the church got severely damaged. It was also one of the reasons why it stopped serving as a church later on. But later, when it was restored, the ceiling, they made it very light. So they used wood. So this is actually a wooden ceiling. Kraków is known for a city with a lot of monasteries, a lot of cloisters, and very often these cloisters are open all day long, and one can just enter and see them. So this is the case for the Church of Augustines. This is the same case for Franciscans, for Dominicans. So really, they look like these kind of secret places. If you don't know about them, you won't enter, but then you should know that you can. So this is one of such cloisters. It's pretty big, so we'll just walk around and take a look. And this one starts with the chapel, what you just saw at the beginning. This is the image, a fresque of a very venerated image of the Virgin Mary in this part of Poland. On the walls of this cloister, you can see remnants of 15th and 16th century fresques. In this case, this is Jesus in the mystical tłocznia. So it's the place where you produce wine. And there is an interesting fact. If you look to the left corner below, there are 2 tiny figures. Let's see if you see them. So something quite interesting. They appear. These are the sponsors of this painting, probably, or of this fresque.
So these 2 tiny figures are the ones who sponsored the fresque.
Yeah, in the 15th century. So they're still here now. Pretty awesome, right? Their name wouldn't tell you anything, but here they are. Asking for prayer. St Rita, and the cult of St Rita is very vivid in this church. This is because the first reason Rita was an Augustine nun, so this is the first reason. And the second one, during the time of the German occupation in Kraków, that time seemed like hopeless for the inhabitants of this city. And a Krakowian artist, Adolf Szyszko-Bochusz, made this sculpture for this church, and the cult of St Rita, the saint, which people pray to when they when they are in a hopeless situation. This cult during the German occupation grew to be very vivid in this church, and it still continues. Every 22nd of every month there is a big ceremony here. People come with roses. This is something typical during the time of the Mass, where they pray for the intercession of St Rita.
Plac Wolnica, the center of Kazimierz, and behind me this is the old town hall of Kazimierz. So Kazimierz, when it was a separate town, it used to have a market square more or less the size of Krakow's market square, but since Kazimierz was incorporated into Kraków at the end of the 18th century, what used to be the market square of Kazimierz is now covered with buildings, and this is the only square left in this sense. The Plac Wolnica, the square of free trade. So in the back, the old medieval town hall of Kazimierz.
And what's on the other side?
And the building you can see to my right, this is the Basilica of Corpus Christi. This one was also founded by King Kazimierz the Great. And just, if you can imagine, up till the end of the 18th century, when this market square still used to exist, on one end it had this huge Gothic church of Corpus Christi, and on the other end of the market square there was the church that we just saw, Church of St Catherine.
Guys, you also got married in this church, didn't you?
That's right.
What's the name of the church again?
Corpus Christi, the Basilica of Corpus Christi, the body of Christ.
So this was the church where my brother and Dominika got married.
Yes, 21st of July 2018.
That was a week after my birthday, because I said if they do it on my birthday, they're gonna have to give me one of their gifts.
Yes, that's right.
We are in the Basilica of Corpus Christi, and in my humble opinion, I think this is maybe the most beautiful church in Kraków. It's an old 15th century Gothic church. Its construction started already in the 14th century, but now only the construction is Gothic. The whole interior is Baroque, and as you can see, Manierist. So this altar, it's probably the best example of just the illumination was just turned off. Anyway, this altar is probably the best example of the 17th century. It's in Polish. It's called St carving in wood. Altar.
Oh, that's from wood?
Yeah. The altar it's a wooden altar covered in a very thin layer of gold.
Oh, really nice. I didn't know it was wooden. It looks amazing. Is this also wooden?
Everything, yeah. Everything. The whole interior is made out of wood. These are 17th century stones, 17th century altar. And then these Baroque altars are Baroque. The pulpit has the shape of a boat. It's quite interesting.
Which pulpit?
Pulpit where the priest says the sermon, but not anymore, but in the old days.
Okay.
I want to show you something. This is the tomb of St Stanisław of Kazimierz. So it's a different Stanisław than the one we talked about at Skałka. He lived in the 15th century here in Kazimierz, and he was known for spreading the cult of the Eucharist, of the belief in the presence of Christ in the Eucharist.
Here's a friend of mine, Helena Kmieć. She was killed in Bolivia as she was a volunteer for the Salvatorian Volunteer Foundation. And now a process started to make her into a blessed person according to the Catholic Church. It's really amazing that I got to know her and travel with her. And I'm showing you this because I'm in Kraków now, in the Jewish district, well, next to the Jewish district. And in the church where we are, they are showing some facts from her life, where she went to school, what she did, what person she was, what kind of person she was.
Ella, I want to show you something, so please come with me. In the back there's the Church of St Joseph. So this is the main church in the neighborhood of Podgórze, which also used to be a separate town until the First World War. And Podgórze is a very interesting place in many senses, but one of these senses is Podgórze used to be the place where the Germans established the ghetto of Kraków during the Second World War.
We're gonna check out the Podgórze district some other day.
Some other day, because it would be totally.
We'll make a day out of it.
It would be a few more hours for us to discover that place. Going towards the Judah Square. Do you see in the front this graffiti with a young Jewish boy with a lion hat? So this is now a square with truck foods, with fast food. The lion symbolizes David, Israel, Kingdom of Israel, and we are now about to enter the historically Jewish district of Kraków, Kazimierz.
We're gonna eat something there, Dominika says. What is this?
This is maczanka, a traditional dish from Kraków. What you see here, this is pork meat. This is pork. It was cooked for, I don't know, like 36 hours, so it's pretty, has a specific texture, but delicious in a fresh piece of bread.
Zaczekaj sekundkę. So this is Kuba's daughters that want to try some. We're telling them to wait a little bit so you guys can see it first.
Definitely worth trying. When in Kraków.
When in Warsaw. That's a different series that you guys can watch on my YouTube channel. But this is a special with my brother. We're here in Kraków, checking out the Kazimierz District, and we're in the part of the Jewish district right now, right?
Historically not yet, but we're about to enter. Yeah. Take a look. There is a nice view here. The panorama of the Joseph Street. So this was the historical southern border of the Jewish district. Do you see the building further ahead to the left with the triangular roof?
Yeah.
This is the high synagogue. Yeah. Or it used to be the high synagogue. Now it's a bookshop. Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's go.
We are in the back of the old synagogue. This is the oldest still standing synagogue building in Poland. So we're just about to enter the heart of the Jewish district in Kraków, the Broadway of Kraków, in Polish the Szeroka Street. So this is not an active synagogue anymore. Just like the other Kraków synagogue, it was devastated by the Germans during the occupation, during the time of the Second World War. Back in the 50s of the 20th century, the city of Kraków and the Jewish community of Kraków reached an agreement that the city will renew the synagogue, as the other ones it was devastated, but it will become the museum about Jewish life in Kraków in Poland. A very interesting place. Inside it looks like a synagogue, but it's a museum.
Thanks. I have never been inside, so
Really?
is it worth to go inside?
Oh, definitely.
All right, we'll go another time, but for now we'll keep going to find out some other interesting places, yeah? So we are in the Jewish district now.
Now we are.
Jewish part of Kazimierz.
Do you see this mural
Yeah.
in the back? It's a mural done by known graffiti artists from Israel, the Broken Fingers. So it has a lot of.
His name is the Broken Fingers?
Not his. It's a group. It's a group
Ah,
that does this kind of art. But I just want to mention it also in the context of the Jewish Culture Festival in Kraków.
when is it?
So it happens every year. For the last 20 years, it has been happening every year. Happens usually at the end of June, start of July, more or less. And one of the typical events during the Jewish Culture Festival, which actually is the biggest Jewish Culture Festival in Europe nowadays, is that different artists, not only from Israel, from all around, somehow, I don't know who, but somebody chooses the place for the new mural that's going to be done during this festival.
So this is one of them.
It was, yeah. Next to the synagogue, you can see the remnants of the old walls of the Jewish district. The Jewish district was a separate entity in Kazimierz. It was called the Jewish city, in Latin Oppidum Judeorum. So it had its own city walls. It had its own council called Kahal, which was residing in the old synagogue. In the old synagogue, it had its own education system. It had its own tax system, so it was a city within a city. Later on this changed. At the end of the 18th century, this changed.
But what does it have to do anything to do with the Kraków ghetto?
No, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Kraków ghetto is a 20th century thing, and now we're talking about the Jewish history that originated here in the 15th century. Jews at the end of the 15th century were kicked out of Kraków.
Of Kraków?
Yeah, just right next to here, because there was a fire. Jews were blamed for this fire, and the king of Poland at that time, he told him, okay, you have to leave Kraków, but you can come to the city right next to it, to Kazimierz. And this was the start of the half a millennium history of Jewish life, of Jewish presence here. And maybe one more thing, the old synagogue, apart from the Attica, it resembles synagogues in Prague, in Ratisbon, in Worms, and it's sort of, you can just trace a line. So it shows how Jews were migrating all the way from the east of Germany up to here. So this is the most eastward of such synagogues, which is a clear signal this migration sort of stopped in Poland. Jews stayed in Poland for a very long time.
Okay, so you said they were kicked out of Kraków in 15th century. So since when were they in Kraków?
12th, 13th century, more or less.
All right. So what about the other side? Because we are right there. What's behind you here?
So this is the heart of the Jewish district, the oldest part. It's called Szeroka, which means the Broadway. In many minds, it just calls the Broadway of New York. It's actually something quite typical for the main street in an old Jewish district in Europe to be called the Broadway. because according to law, until more or less the beginnings of the 19th century, Jews had to live in one part of town. They could move freely wherever, but they had to live in one part of town, which would get really overcrowded, streets would get narrower, and the only street that would remain broad was the Broadway. So hence you will find a Broadway in several Jewish
So the Broadway was kind of like for shops and everything like that?
The Broadway was the main street, which yeah, you could say for shops, yeah, for trading, for things like that. Actually here on the Broadway there are 4 synagogues. This is not typical for there to be more than one synagogue on a street. Here there were 4.
Why?
4.
They were very religious Jews, or?
Actually, yeah. I mean, for some time, most of the people were, in certain centuries, most of the people were religious. And talking about Kazimierz, until the 19th century, actually until the 20th century, most of the religious people, of the religious Jewish people, stayed in this district. The less religious ones, the more assimilated ones with Polish culture, moved out to other parts of town.
All right. So when the Jewish ghetto, during World War II, when the Germans came, they established it in a different part of town, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
so they kicked everyone out from here?
Actually, it's a common, but it's at the same time a good question. Yes, all the Jews that remained, that were still living in Kraków when the ghetto was established in March 1941, had 2 weeks to go to the place where the perimeter of the ghetto was established. And I suppose maybe the question you wanted to ask, why there and not not here? Podgórze, it's a little bit further from the center. Kraków was declared the capital of a German colony, so Germans coming to Kraków, they didn't want a Jewish district right next to the city center. So they rather move out the ghetto a little bit further from the city center. And besides that, it was closed on one end by the river Vistula, so it was also easier to control. We're in front of a monument that commemorates the Jewish community in Kraków from before the Second World War. So this is, I don't know if you can see it, filled with stones. It's Jewish tradition to leave stones in monuments, in tombs. They don't usually leave flowers. A stone lasts forever. It's a sign of eternal life and eternal memory. Something important is that before the Second World War, about 1/4 of the Jewish of the population in Kraków were Jews, around 68,000 people. And connecting this with where we are right now, with Kazimierz. So Kazimierz in the scale of Poland is unique because from all the Jewish districts, from the huge Jewish population in Poland before the war, about 3.5 million people, the only place in Poland where you can still see this heritage just on every street where you go, this is in Kazimierz. So,
why?
Simply because of the extermination of the Holocaust. 90% of the Jewry in Poland was killed in different extermination camps mostly, but also in concentration camps.
But why in Krakow we still can see it? Why did Germans not destroy all of this?
Okay, it's more complex than that. Kraków was not destroyed during the Second World War, so this is the first thing. Warsaw, which was the second city with the biggest Jewish population in the world before the war, was totally destroyed. So in Warsaw there's no, not only the Jewish district left, but there's nothing. I mean, it's all a reconstruction. And actually, it's hard to say how this happened that in Kraków, the Jewish district in Kazimierz, the different religious monuments and active synagogues and also other things were preserved and elsewhere not. It's hard to answer. It's hard to answer this question, but this is how it is. So Kazimierz actually was a ruin until the 90s of the 20th century, but when the communist regime fell, after the huge success of the Schindler's List, the movie, this place really changed. A lot of places were renovated, and actually today the Jewish community in Kraków, roughly speaking, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 people out of 800,000. So it's just you know, just a drop of water in an ocean. Most of the people, most of the Jews you see in Kazimierz today are not from here. These are people from Israel, from US, mostly tourists or groups of people coming to see the Jewish district, coming to see Kraków. So you won't really see a lot of Jewish locals nowadays. But when a group from outside of Poland, when a Jewish group comes to Kraków, this is one of the main places, if not the main place to visit, if they are of course religious, because this is the new synagogue. It's a 16th century synagogue which is still active, and the important thing about it is that this was the Remah synagogue. So I say like the Remah. You might not be so excited as the Orthodox or Hasidic Jews coming to Kraków that want to see this synagogue.
What's the Remah?
Remah is an acronym for Rabbi Moses Isserles. He was a 16th century rabbi living right here. This behind this entrance, this was his private synagogue. He's very important for the AshkenaziJews, so the Jews that lived in Germany, Poland, Russia, Hungary, all around Czechia, all around this part of Europe. Because in the 16th century he compiled a codex of Jewish customs and laws. So he compiled previous codexes and made a very accessible codex, which is still used up to this day by the Ashkenazi Orthodox communities. So this is why he is of key importance, and his grave is right behind this synagogue in a very old Jewish cemetery, which was totally devastated by the Germans during the Second World War.
And you also said something was behind the trees over there?
Oh yeah, this orange building, this is a mikvah. So
What does it mean?
Ritual bathhouse.
What is a ritual bath? It's like baptism for Christians?
No. Baptism in the Christian religion, baptism happens only once, and the ritual bath for Jews, especially for women, is repeated monthly, if not more often. There are many occasions when you would have to go to a ritual bathhouse. I will not try to now mention all of them, but it is still common in the Jewish tradition to go to a mikveh, especially for women.
And there's also a bar there, the orange one.
Yes, because now it's not a mikveh anymore. It was devastated.
Ah, okay.
There are actually two ritual bathhouses in Kraków, Jewish ritual bathhouses, mikvehs, but now it's a restaurant, it's a hotel and a restaurant.
Inside this really cool place where there used to be like houses of some Jewish families, and actually this was the scenery of some scenes in the Oscar Schindler's List, the movie. As I mentioned before, apart from all the history, Kazimierz is really well known for all its bars and cafes, especially in the summer. And this is not just a place where a scene from Schindler's List took place, some scenes, but other films as well. And if you know what films, let me know. Walking with my sister-in-law Dominika. Yes. It's her husband, my brother, who was showing us around Kraków, and we're on Paulińska Street. You've been here, right?
Yeah, I've been. I remember.
And this is exactly where we used to live. This door.
Yes, 22 Paulińska Street.
Yay! It was very nice. Actually, someone lives here now, so let's not annoy them. But I really, really enjoyed living here.
Yes.
And it was, I felt like in Italy, because inside they have these terraces that you go out and go through to get into the house.
Come on here, yes.
And it's right on the other side of the church that we saw before, of St Stanisław, where he was killed, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, yep, right across the street. Nowy,
Yeah, in English, the new square.
the new square, not Plaza Nowa, as I said in my previous video. This is the last thing we're gonna see today, right?
This is right, although the Jewish district in Kazimierz itself, Kraków itself, has a lot to offer. So I think this video will be about 10 minutes. A regular tour in Kazimierz lasts about 2 hours. So
We've been here for like 3-4 hours already, but of course we're with Kuba's family, so it takes a little longer to do the tour. But you won't see that because you'll only see the 10 minutes that I cut out. But if you want to see other parts of Krakow, for example, where the Jewish Ghetto was.
Podgórze, the one we mentioned before, or Zabłocie, where Oskar Schindler's factory is located.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
a lot. And one day maybe we can make a tour according to like the places that were in the movie of Schindler's List. Well, I don't know if he wants to, but we'll make him. If you guys want to.
Maybe 2 more words about the new square we are at right now. It's one of the most popular places to go in Kazimierz, especially in the evening, since now Kazimierz is the hipster part of town, and in the evening when people start getting hungry, bless you,
Thank you.
they come to the new square to buy zapiekanka. I don't know if you see anybody eating zapiekanka right now. It's a
Yeah.
half baguette snack with mushroom sauce and
I
cheese.
think you already. Oh, there is one. Oh, the lady. Oh, there she is. Anyway, I'll show you guys in some shots later. But for now, that's it. We gotta, take the girls, which have been my brother's daughters, which have been really good. We gotta take them home. So let me know if you want to know more about all these amazing places and places full of history, because as you said, Krakow is like the only place, like city like that still holds so much history that has not been destroyed during World War II. So
In Poland.
of course. So see you guys, and let me know what you think about the video. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments, and see you soon. Bye.
See you, thanks, bye.